Hi everybody, happy Sunday. This is Seth from Coming Out Tarot. If you've been here before, welcome back. And if you haven't been here before, welcome. On Sundays, I have been getting on lately and just talking about some of, hey Brianne, what's about to come out on Monday. The effort is to just kind of actually walk through the blog post that's going to come through on Monday and see if there's anything else I want to be aware of, if I want to talk about, but primarily just get a chance to talk about it. How are you? Because it's been bubbling in my head for the last few days, and then I finally get it down on the screen. I'm just going to say on paper, but do people do that? I finally get it down on paper, and then so I just kind of want to talk about it a little bit. So I was scrolling through Reddit. What's going on, Dragonfly? I was scrolling through Reddit, and I'd like to see what people are saying about tarot, what they're asking about tarot, how people feel about certain aspects of tarot, so that I'm kind of up on the trend and up on what people may be confused about, besides just working through this excellence journey. And the excellence journey, of course, you can always find out more over at comingoutarot.com. The excellence button's right there on the front, and that's all free self-improvement stuff. But I like to alternate that conversation with what's going on in tarot. So just to keep my own self educated about what's happening in the world. Hey, Coco. So, one of the questions that I came across was a theme, basically, that I thought I wanted to address. And I hear a lot of people say that they want to get a tarot reading, but they're afraid to get the tarot reading. And why is it that they're afraid? Several reasons. One, people are afraid because they're not sure if they want to know. Whatever it is that they're afraid to know, they don't want to know. There's other fears around what you might hear about in a tarot reading. And I think there's a lot of ways to navigate that. And I'm going to talk about that in this conversation. The one that triggered me, though, the one statement that someone said that I was like, oh, that I need to go work this out and write about it, was someone said that they were scared to get a tarot reading because they didn't want someone all up in their business. And I thought, oh, all right, yeah, now I get it. Now I get the, hey, inspired, I get that feeling of what it means to feel like you're being invaded, to feel like someone knows you and will tell you things you may not be ready to hear, may know all your secrets, kind of a thing, kind of like know where your porn's hidden under your bed, for an example, right? If I could, like a beer keg? What are you talking about? If I could tap in for you. I'm sorry you're having a terrible day. She's like, no. Hey, Chorus. Oh, so I do those for, seriously, great. So then seriously, I do those professionally, so you can order a tarot reading over at comingoutarot.com/shop, and we can set up some time to do a reading for you so that it isn't something that is immediate and right away. If you're looking for an emergency tarot reading, there are other tarot readers that do those, but I don't. So, how's it going, Tom? You can also catch me if I happen to be on another time. I do them for donation, but right now I'm not doing readings right now. I haven't taken my time to prep and be ready and be all encompassing and present and ready for doing a reading right now. Oh no, I do. Yes, I do private readings, and someone, you don't? Why not? No, I do. Why not? Okay, I hope you have a better day, Coco. There's a lot of free readers on Periscope. If you just search tarot, you might find some that are doing them right now. And you can also find free readers, you'll find free readers on YouTube, on Facebook. All you got to do is search free tarot reading. You can also find some free readers over Hey No Shade on other spaces like Reddit's got a thread, and Yeah, was it Coco? Coco, you can find other places for free readings, like there are other, like Reddit has a free reading thread. If you search for free readers on Periscope, you can find them here. So yeah, people get mean when they don't get something for free and they're all like they're up in their own stuff. So I get it. If she's having a bad day, I get it. But I'm not here to get sucked into your drama. I'm here to help you, which is two totally different things. So moving on, back to our topic of never being scared about tarot being all up in your business. That I agree, Dragon, that we all have bad days, right? Do we need to take them out on other people? Probably not. And yet, I've probably been rude to a cashier or two. All right, so being scared about tarot getting all up in your business. Let's talk about it. So when you go to a doctor, this was the closest example I could think about. When you go to a doctor and something's wrong, like something's bothering you, and you realize it's time to go to a doctor, do you tell the doctor when they say, how can I help you? What's going on? Do you say, oh, everything's fine? Or do you actually start listing out the symptoms of what's wrong? Do you tell them everything? Do you tell them a little bit of stuff? Do they have to pull some things out of you? My guess is you probably, because this is what I do, you tell them either a little bit more than they need to know because you just want to make sure they have the whole picture, or you tell them just enough to get to say, this is what the symptoms are that I'm having, can you help me out? But in either case, you just don't say everything's fine. You just don't show up to the doctor and be like, oh, everything's fine. No, you came there for a reason. So it's the same kind of thing when you come to a tarot reader, or you're thinking about coming to a tarot reader, or you're considering coming to a tarot reader and you never have before. You don't want to be in that space of everything's fine. You want to be able to share what's going on in your life so that you can focus on that thing that needs tweaking, that thing that needs just a little bit of nudge to the right, that thing that needs a little bit of lift in order to be more what I want to say, like strengthened than it was before. However you're approaching the problem that you're coming to a tarot reader for, you need to give them the picture. Now, depending on the tarot reader, some tarot readers will tell you, don't tell me anything. I'm going to do we've talked about this a little bit before. Don't tell me anything because I'm going to wow you with my skills, and then we're going to do some more in-depth stuff. Where I prefer for you to tell me, like the doctor, I prefer for you to tell me absolutely everything up until this point in the timeline. Because you've already done a lot of work, either with someone else or by yourself or both. And I don't want to reiterate what you've already done. I want to start from where you are and move forward. So you go to the doctor the same way you go to the tarot reader and you say, here's all the stuff that's going on around this particular thing that I need help with. Help me get some more insight. Because for me, I'm not tarot TMZ, right? I'm not here to like photograph or video or get the gossip on whatever it is that you've been up to and whatever it is that you think you might want to get up to. I honestly, I could give two shits about that. What I want to do is help you solve whatever the problem is. I want to help you go from good to great. I want to, hey Bezos, I want to help you move that I don't know what's going on feeling into something that is straightforward and actionable. So I don't want to be, how are you, Bezos? I don't want to be in a state where you and I might dance around each other. I'd rather have the opportunity to have some trust and open dialogue so that we can move forward successfully. So as you think about those next steps in your career, as you think about those next steps in your relationship, whatever those things are that you're trying to resolve, that's when you might want to think about coming to a tarot reader, especially one like me, because I don't care, happy Earth Day, I don't care about the dirt in your life. I don't want the gossip that is like salacious in your life. What I do want are those symptoms of the problem that you're trying to take care of, to resolve. I want the symptoms of the challenges that are holding you back. And that way I can prescribe what the next steps are so that you're activated, so that you're engaged, and you're moving towards being successful. So that's welcome back, Tom. That's where we're headed. That's why I don't think you should have to worry about it. Won't stop. Like I push it up. I've been going like this all day. It keeps falling down, which means my hair is starting to get to the length that I want. This is what it does when it gets close to the thing, close to the length that I want. I could just do it like this. Maybe I'll get it to curl. Let's see. No, oh, curl. It just keeps moving over. So I'm trying to ignore it. So one of the other things that I hear in this vein of getting all up in my business is that some people feel like I might be judging them. Now, it is true that if you looked at my Myers-Briggs, I got a big old J in there. Like, me and Simon Cowell, like this. I could be a great judge on So You Think You Can Dance. I'm really good at giving people constructive feedback and knowing who needs to go. But here's the thing. Hey, Rizé, when I'm doing tarot readings for folks, I'm in this state of problem solving. I'm not in the state of judging and assuming that this is the way that you are or this is the way that you should be. My Myers-Briggs, if I can remember right, is INTJ. INTJ. So I'm not in that space of judging. I'm using tarot to ensure that you walk away from me, either on FaceTime or at my table, wherever we are, that you're walking away feeling better than you did when we first sat down together. The only reason I'm going to get in your business is to take your business to a better place. So that's the point. It's not, I don't want to be there to judge you. It doesn't even, listen, I've had so many people ask me so many personal questions that judging would not be beneficial to the process for the person asking me the question and for me trying to dig deeper into the action that you need in order to take the next step to be successful. Whatever it is that you're trying to get around or better understand, judging doesn't get us there. So the effort is to always get you to the state of being able to solve your own problems. And it's my hope that when you have a tarot reading with me, that by the time you get those actionable steps, you're ready to move forward and solve your own problems. My hope, hey Pon, is that I'm going to give you that jumping off point. And I want to give you the steps to get started with. So that's kind of the next iteration of what if when people are afraid of a tarot reader getting all up in their business, it's the other side of that is that we want to dive deep without judging or assuming so that you can get to the kernel of the problem, the nut of the issue, and then move past it so that you can solve your own problems. And eventually, so you feel better than when you first sat down with me. And that's kind of like my goal in life anyway. I want everything to be better than what it was when I found it. And tarot reading is no different. The challenge is that because it's with people, it's inspiring trust. And that's why I get on Periscope, is to give you guys a better idea of what it's like to talk to me, to hear me, to interact with me, to see that I haven't shaven for 3 days, to know that I'm a normal person, even though sometimes you're going to see me like dressed down and sometimes you're going to see me in a dress shirt because I'm going to my day job. So it's kind of like that book, Everybody Poops, right? You get a little bit of personal here when I get on here, and you get a chance to see what I'm like and what I say and what I sound like and how I interact with you when you throw comments up. And that's why Periscope is important to me. That's why being on here is important, because we get to share some time together. We certainly don't get to see each other. I mean, you're forced to look at me and I don't get a chance to look at you. But while we spend this time together, you get a chance to get to know each other. And I think that's important. Now, I want to share a couple things that people have asked me that run along the vein of what they're scared of hearing about in a tarot reading. And then I'm gonna tell you how you can even just like switch your perception. One of the things that people thanks, Breeze. One of the things that people always tell me they're scared of in getting a tarot reading, especially those people who haven't had one with me, or anyone else for that matter, or some of my friends who know that this is something that I do, tell me, "Oh, no, I could never do that." Hey, Melly, and I say why, and they say, "Well, I don't want to know if I'm going to die." I said, "I don't want to know if you're going to die either. I mean, but let me answer the question easy for you. We're all going to die. At some point, we will die." And then they shift their concern and say, "Well, I don't know how I'm going to die." Well, I don't know how you're going to die either. So you don't even have to ask that question. And it is not my intention to ever do a reading on if someone will die. And you can check out my ethics and my FAQs over at comingoutarot.com. Hey, Adian. That's not part of the service that I offer. It's not part of the value of a tarot reading. It's not going to move your life forward to being asked questions about your own death or someone else's. So just let that one go. Second, one of the other fears that I get from people who are worried if tarot's going to get all up in their business is if I'm going to tell them if they're going to end up getting a divorce, if their husband, partner, spouse, wife, whatever is cheating, or that I'm going to find out that they've been cheating and they're the one who's kind of screwing up the relationship. So, hey, Melly. What the hell just happened there? Is Easternack a bot? So, okay. So the divorce thing and the cheating on me thing comes up. Like, you can see it in somebody's eyes. You can see that they are worried that I'm going to find out something about their relationship and where they are, and they're going to hear things that they're going to then have to acknowledge and deal with. So it's really not the fear that I might tell them that someone's cheating. It's the fear that they're going to have to acknowledge their own inner knowing, right? So in general, if someone is like, "Oh, I don't want to know if I'm going to get a divorce or if I am being cheated on," well, great. Don't ask that question. One. Two, what's going on, Starro? Two, I don't answer yes or no questions anyway. So we would have to go into a deeper type of question, like what are the conditions surrounding the relationship? We would take it further into something verbatim like that, or like, what are the signs I could look for if my partner is cheating? Or if you do the one around the relationship one, what are the conditions surrounding my relationship? A lot of times we'll see how two individuals are interacting, and if they're just kind of like oil and water, or if there's a better way to move that relationship forward, or if it's just reaching the end of its natural course. So once we get to that point of understanding where the relationship would be, then we can do some next steps depending on how you want to move that relationship forward. So if you want to move it forward by strengthening your communication, if that's where the problem is, or if you want to work on how you can leave because it's time to get out, we can work on that. And that's the next step of the tarot reading. And then we start drawing some more cards and talking about that. So you don't have to worry about me telling you that kind of thing, because I'm not going to tell you that kind of thing unless you ask me. If you ask me, then you should just be ready for the conversation we're about to have. And that's a very hard question to ask, but it's not one that people shy away from when it's time. Because when it's time, you know it. So I don't want you to be scared of something like that, because that fear comes out of, I break balls with the truth. Yes. That comes out of getting a general reading and not knowing what's about to come. So it is not, I don't think it's something to fear unless you're walking into a reading knowing that the reader is going to be doing a general reading for you. And I'm going to talk in more specifics about that in just a little bit. So one of the other things that I think people fear is getting into that general space. Hey, Rizzo, where you get worried that I'm going to tell you something that you don't want to know. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I don't want to know it. You want truth or fantasy? Truth. So I can honestly say that anytime anybody's had a reading with me, that they've never walked away and then come back or sent me a message in any way that said I told them something they didn't want to know. Ever. So I can guarantee you that I'm not going to tell you something you don't want to know. You may hear things you have to acknowledge that you weren't like ready to hear, but you knew in the back of your mind. That's really probably what you're referring to. What's going on, Jennifer? So that's another reason that I don't do general readings. That's why I don't like general readings, because general readings tend to have that weird feeling of surprise factor. Hey, Kura. And like that's anxiety inducing for me. So I can only imagine what it's like for the person sitting across from me. So that's why I love to have real specific questions. And for two reasons. One, hey Shy Chalk, for one is to make sure that we're focused on what's important to you, what's most important to you right now. So they're creating the change in your life, thanks Rizzo, that you're looking for today. The effort is to drill down, hey Russ, into that question that is most important right now. Thanks for sharing, Jennifer. So that you don't get in that weird space of, oh, I'm scared of knowing what I don't know. No, let's focus on what you want to know. That way you're ready, you're prepared, and you're engaged so that when you get the information you need, then you're activated, then you're engaged in your life, then transformation happens, and you are moving forward in a way that you weren't before. And that's the effort. That's the cool thing about tarot. That's why tarot is important. That's why people come to tarot readers, not to hear things they already know. They're coming for the confirmation. They're coming for the next step. They're coming for the solution in order to move their lives forward in a way that they have not been able to do on their own. So coming to a tarot reader doesn't have to be scary. You don't have to feel like a tarot reader's all up in your business if you control it. And I'm going to come back to that again, too, in just a minute. So, next, I want to share with you guys, generically, thanks, Melly, generically, some of the questions that I've received so that you can understand the extremely personal nature of a question and how specific it can get so that you aren't in that vein of, I don't know if I want to know what I don't know. But you're asking a question that is in the moment what you need to know at that time. So, judgment-free zone, I want to be very clear that I'm not going to attribute these questions to anybody. But I want to share with you what some of them sound like. So if you're thinking about some of these things, you can feel like coming to a tarot reader and asking these questions. But you'll also get an idea around what kind of specificity I'm talking about. So at one point, one lady asked me, my husband passed, is he proud of me and how I'm raising my family? This was a gut check for me. It was gut wrenching. It was zeroed in. Like she wanted to know if she was doing the right thing for her family and by her husband, because she didn't have that formidable team anymore, and she was at a place of uncertainty. And there were things coming up with her son that came up during the reading that needed to be addressed, and we had a very we had a great conversation about how she should be moving forward. So one idea of specific, something very clear about family. Second, I had someone ask me, they said they were thinking of having their tubes tied. Thanks, Starro. They were thinking of having their tubes tied, and they wanted to know what the outcome would be if they had them tied. Talk about a personal question. I mean, it was a, I did a double take. I was like, do you really want to ask me that? Are you sure that this is the most I mean, it's a very important question. I was like, are you sure it's the most important thing right now? Yes. Hey, Mr. Scruffy. So we had a very frank, clear conversation about what it means outside of medical terms, because I'm not a doctor, to have made that choice so that she knew what was coming on the other side. And it gave her new insight in a way that she hadn't thought before. And so it was a really strong reading. And it was strong because it was so specific to her challenges right then. Another one. This one is going to sound less it's going to sound less intense than those other two, but it's just as important to some people. What's the next step I need to take in my business? Businesses can be like children. Businesses can be very personal experiences, especially when you're an entrepreneur. So knowing what your next step to take in your business is a very scary thing when you are running your own business. And consulting a tarot reader is something that a lot of entrepreneurs do. So, very personal question, very powerful conversations. I've had a lot of those, actually. Another one. I'm going on a date this weekend. What are the conditions surrounding this relationship, this potential relationship? I thought that was, I get that one frequently around the potential for relationships. I think it's a really interesting way to approach, is this something I should be investing my time in? And then another one, I'm thinking about getting a new job. What's the outcome if I stay in my current job versus taking the new one? So this person was like weighing between, I'm in a safe space right now. I'm going to be offered a new job. Do I stay in the safe space? Do I go after the new job? What are the benefits of staying in one or the other? And we had a great conversation around both of those types of jobs. So all personal questions related to professionalism, related to the body, related to family and children and relationships. There's a lot going on in there. So my goal in sharing these is to let you know that your experience is normal, especially if you're feeling embarrassed about the question you want to ask. It's so normal because it was not easy for the people who asked me these questions to ask me these questions. But they reached the point where they were done spinning in one place. They were ready to move forward and get more insight so they could make a choice, make a decision, take some action, get engaged, and move forward. So best time to talk to a tarot reader when you've got that, hey mystic, when you've got that idea and you're like, I don't know what else to do. Sit down with a tarot reader and ask the question. Because ultimately, you're in control. Now, one of the things I recommend is checking out, I've got a couple posts on how to choose the right reader for you, traits you might think about when choosing a reader. Excuse me, my throat's getting dry. Check out those posts because they give you some good ideas to think about when you're trying to find the right reader for you. Because if you're going to sit down and ask a very personal question, like I just mentioned, then you're going to want to make sure that you're comfortable with that reader. So I strongly recommend that you make sure you're comfortable. So cyberstalk the person, email them, start a conversation. Conversations are free. Watching someone on on social media is free. So awesome. That's what I'm hoping. So you can cyberstalk your reader because if there's a generation of readers right now that are putting themselves out there, like I'm putting myself out here so I can engage with you and meet you, and you get an idea of what it's like to talk to me. Otherwise, you'd see my website and you'd have no idea what I'm like, or if you'd even trust me or want to hang out with me. This gives you an idea, like, oh, he's a little rough around the edges. Maybe I would be cool with that. He swears every once in a while. That's cool with me. I don't need to have somebody who polishes up their language all the time. Or he just talked about poop 30 minutes ago, and we could probably have a good laugh over something because poop is funny, especially if you say it in falsetto. I don't know if you knew that. Melly, if you say poop in a falsetto voice, it's hilarious. Poop. It's funny. So, okay. And every once in a while, you got to break it up. I mean, it can get a little intense. You gotta kind of like drop the for a little bit and boop. Yeah. So anyway, if you're not quite sure if you can ask me those types of questions, check out some of my past scopes, talk to some of the other people who are in this room, and find out if I might be the best reader for you. If I'm not, I know some other people. I know other readers. And you can also find a lot of other readers on Periscope. You can find them on YouTube, Facebook. All you got to do is search Tarot Reader. And if you're searching Google, just search Tarot Reader in your city. I always, whenever I use voice recognition on my computer and I'm saying Tarot Reader, it either spells it terror or Terrell. Because the way I say tarot apparently doesn't sound like tarot. Hey, Johnson. So, anyway. Back to this. Hey, feral fur baby. Feral fur babies. I have had feral fur babies in my house. Right now, they're all domesticated, though. So, if you feel like going to a tarot reader and it's someone you don't know and you're afraid they're going to be all up in your business, I would caution you against a couple of things. I'm just going to look at these two notes real quick. I think you should decide if you want to get a free reading or not. For a couple reasons. If you've never been to a tarot reader before, and you're thinking about getting a tarot reading, and you're not sure if $75 is the right investment, or $50, because 50 to 75 tends to be the going rate for an hour. If you're not sure if you're ready to invest that yet, because you're just not sure about the person, you're not sure about a tarot reading because you've never done it before, then you can always try out a free reading or try out one for donation. So the free readings, some of those people giving away free readings don't have, and I'm going to qualify this, some of the people giving away free readings don't have the experience behind them to know what to keep to themselves. And if you're worried about somebody getting up in your business and then blabbing about it, some of those free readers may not have that kind of experience. However, I know, right, Deanna? Cute, Jim. But there are a lot of people who give away free readings who have been reading professionally for years that do understand discretion, that do understand working with people is, in fact, working with people and not just themselves that they're reading for. And you need to be able to have some compassion, care, and understanding. And those you can kind of get a feel for those newbies, and those newbies may not have a code of ethics. They may not have some frequently asked questions that'll help you better understand where they're coming from and if they're going to safeguard your information. So one, if you haven't had a reading before and you're thinking about it and you know your question is pretty personal, then decide if you want to go to someone who's free so you get the experience. Decide if you want to find someone who does readings via donation so you feel like you're getting a little bit of bang for your buck. For example, on Fridays, not this last Friday, but normally on Fridays I'm on at 6 o'clock Central and I do readings via donation. And if I'm on any other time during the week, as a surprise, then I do them via donation as well. And I just do a $10 donation. I pull 2 cards, give you some insight and actionable advice on your question. So there's ways to get in touch with readers like me who've been reading for 30-some years for a, the price of a martini, where you could give up your martini for a minute. Yeah, right. And it is, it's true. What's interesting? People will ask me a very sanitized question here, and then I'll get a message that says, here's what I'm really asking, and then we'll do a private reading. We'll get into the depths of it. But even in their sanitized version, sometimes all the tea comes out, and you just got to be ready for it. So depending on the person, and you can kind of get a feel for it here on Periscope, depending on the person, I might be careful about how I share the information that I'm receiving and tell them that we should follow up later But a lot of times, folks that ask questions in these scopes are open to hearing the message that's coming through, and so that's been positive. So yeah, I was saying, just for some readers that are on Periscope, if you do the ones for donation, you're probably getting somebody who's been reading for a little bit longer. You'll be able to, if you watch for a little while, if you stalk them, you'll know if they're new. If they pick up the little white book, they're new. If they're telling you, well, this card normally means this, they may be kind of new. I should do you're a new tarot reader. You know you're a new tarot reader, like Jeff Foxworthy. So if they're doing some things like that, they may be a little bit new. The experienced ones are going to be like, what's this thing about turtles walking slowly across the road? And you're like, oh my God, I saw turtles yesterday. And it'll have nothing to do with what's on the card, and things are like, they're like, this is the Empress. Where are the turtles? You know, it'll be that kind of thing where you realize that someone is in touch with something greater than a little white book or the lessons they're learning. They've crossed a different line. So that's one of the things I would suggest when you are thinking about getting a tarot reading and you may not have had one before. The other one is do more than interview them. So I've talked a little bit about this. Do social stalk your reader. You can now. You can. There's just some great readers who've been around long enough that don't have a social media presence, or they have a limited one. I agree. You know what? I love the books because sometimes the books that I get come with decks that are not traditionally based on the Rider-Waite. So I love to read the artist's interpretation of the card and then better understand their art. So like the Marielle, for example, the Marielle Tarot, if I didn't read that book, I would have no idea where she's coming from. And some of that stuff is intense and amazing. So I love that kind of fresh perspective. Dusta Onyx's book is really interesting because I'm hearing this whole African side of esotericism that I didn't know about, and that's really cool. So yeah, social stalk your reader. It's important today. It kind of like doing Yelp reviews and going to find reviews on people. Check out the website, look for testimonials, look for video. Read some of their blog posts. You're going to get a feel for who these people are and if you want to work with them. So, blah, blah, there we go. So all that to say, I believe that a tarot reader is only going to get all up in your business if you give them all of your business. It's up to you. You're in control. You're the person who has all of the information. Thank you. So you control the outcome. All you have to do as the person sitting across from the reader, all you got to do is like guide the reading in the direction that you want it to go. And you start with a really great question. Kind of like those examples that like they're up here in my head. Kind of like those examples that I gave you before. You're in charge of the reading. The tarot reader is going to like make sure they stay on time. They're going to make sure that they're guiding the conversation. Sorry, my throat's getting dry. They'll make sure they're guiding the conversation so that they're sharing what they're interpreting with you, and you're communicating back, hopefully, instead of just sitting there with your arms crossed. And then they're going to make sure that your question aligns with what they're hearing. The best part is that when you two get in the same place, based on that question and based on the cards that are coming up, yes, Melly, yes, then that's when you're going to be ready to activate, engage, and start to move your life forward and create that transformation you're looking for. So, yeah, I definitely want to impart through this of people being nervous about getting a tarot reading because the tarot reader is going to get all up in your business. You control the business, I know. You control it. Now, if you're sitting in front of a tarot reader that's a psychic, there may be some things that you can't control, but you can still focus. You can still focus the reader. Is there an unfair advantage when you know the person personally that you're reading? I think there is. So I would say yes. And here's what I think about that. I heard some great advice from another reader, and it's one that I have chosen to follow. They told me, I'll never read anyone I've sitting down to dinner with. I thought, yeah, that makes sense to me, because the point where if you've reached the point where you can sit down to dinner with someone, you're at least friendly in some way. You've had conversation, you know a little bit about their life. And if you've sat down to dinner, you probably know a lot more about their life. Like last night I was out to dinner with some friends and I was telling them about how my sewer pipe in front of my house collapsed and how shit backed up into our basement. It was disgusting. But her husband is a contractor, understands everything that happened, was asking me some good questions about some of the other stuff we had done. Poop! And we had we had a great conversation. But I know them very well. I know them so well. So yeah, I wouldn't want to do a reading for them. Because I would be afraid, I would be so afraid that what I know would be influencing the reading. And it can if you're not careful. And that's why I have one friend that I've recently done a reading for that I'm very, very close to. And he really was looking for some support. So I said, yes, I'll do this. I want you to know this isn't something I normally do, but let's do it. So during the course of the reading, I warned him, I'm probably going to ask you some questions to make sure that I'm not forcing what I know about you or our relationship onto this moment. And afterwards, he thanked me. He said, I'm so glad that you asked some of those questions, because you immediately course corrected, and then we got to where I needed to be. So I think it's possible. I think it takes a lot of focus and a lot of practice for a tarot reader to actually work with someone they know and not be biased or influenced. I think it's really hard. It's kind of like reading for yourself, because you know yourself so well that you can choose to see things that you want to see in the cards, or you can choose to ignore things that you want to ignore. You know? So yeah, I think I think reading for friends is really hard. What other questions? Hey, I don't know what your name was. Something about pig. Hey, Survey Cicero. Anybody else nervous about tarot getting all up in their business? Nervous about getting a tarot reading and having a tarot reader know more about them than they thought they would? What's going on, sir? I need to take you with me to get some water. I don't have any cups up here, but I need here in my bed. I retreat a lot of paranormal stuff, so you know. Okay. I've had a lot of people nervous about that with me. Same kind of same kind of question I was bringing up here. Yeah, I need to go check out some of your scopes. My smartness? It's, my smartness is because you guys ask really good questions, and it makes me think. Oh, yeah. You're nervous about it yourself. Yeah, and I think that's part of what sets apart some good tarot readers is that we want to do a good job. We want to help the person who's sitting in front of us. We want to make sure that we're being empathetic and kind, because sometimes there are things that pop up that you're like, oh shit, are they ready to hear this? And then you think, well, yeah, if it's coming up, it must be time. And then you think, how do I say this in a way that they'll hear it in the best way possible? I'm just worried about the ladies and money. What are you going to do about that, Storo? I agree. That's why for those of you that were here earlier, when someone came in panicked, wanting a reading, like my day is terrible and I need a reading, and then when I told her I don't do those, she could purchase one. She got really mad and left. Well, I also mentioned that I hadn't done the preparation that I need to do to be open and ready for that type of reading, and that I'm not just going to do one and hope that it's going to work. It is thanks, Inspired. It's not fair to the person I'm doing the reading for. It's not fair to me. And in the end, it just makes for a shitty experience. And no, we can't. That's time, energy, effort, education, all the things. But I don't do that emergency reading stuff. Like and to be even like more honest about it, besides that I wasn't prepared, physically, mentally, I also don't have my cards up here, and I have to go get them, and then I'd have to prepare. And she clearly wasn't ready for sticking around like that. You got a reading before, but no one has told you what you don't know. Yeah, and I agree. Most of the time, people already know. People already know. What people may not know are those like when you have crevices that get filled with putty and things look smooth. It's those little things in the crevices that you just need to like pull out a little bit, smooth it over, and be ready to move on. And that's where I think tarot ends up being helpful, is like plucking out those little things, smoothing over those crevices, and helping you like glide on to whatever's next. So yeah, it wasn't fair for her. It wasn't fair to me. It wasn't fair to anybody else who might be watching, because it would have been a shitty reading. And when people are like, I need an emergency reading, that's drama. And I ain't about drama. So, yeah, I have done years of free readings. I have done almost 30 years of free readings. And so it is time now. Hey, Punch, it's time now to allow that to be a legitimate business. Because I also want it to be a business. Before I didn't want it to be a business. And now I want it to be a business. I want to know what it's like to run one and care for one and nurture one and grow one. And I'm working on that, and I'm learning it, and I'm experiencing that. And it's interesting, and it's fascinating, and it's hard, and it's challenging, and it's one of the biggest puzzles I've ever had to figure out in my life. It's just weird for me to run, because I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm constantly doing something. So it's an interesting experience, and I want it to be a business. And in order for a tarot business to be run as a business, I need to trade my time for money or chickens. Actually, I don't want chickens. Don't send me chickens. But I will be. I am going to trade my time for money. So I have assigned a cost to the time that I have available in order to do readings based on my experience, my expertise, my skill level, all the things, my education, blah, 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 because it all plays into it. So yeah, I think it's important. And the last scope I did, we talked about value of a tarot reading, and how that value, for me, the value is the value the client places on it. Certainly, I place a monetary value on my time, but the value of the reading is truly in the eyes and the experience of the person who received the reading. How much are my readings? They range. when I'm on Fridays, you can get a 2 card reading for a $10 donation. If you're purchasing a reading, then those readings start at an hour. And there's one, the lowest one is $50. There are more commonly ones that are $75. And then you can actually progressively, you can add on to those. Because I'm also a project manager, you can add on to those. And you can add on some project management follow-up. You can add on some accountability for yourself, project plans, and then that adds on time that I'm spending. So there's also an additional cost for that. So there's a base cost for the reading, and then if you want to do the add-ons in order to keep yourself accountable, because I'm going to give you some shit to do. After mail, you sold $400 worth of readings and made $9. I mean, I'm gonna yeah, the readings that I've got are, there's a baseline and then there's all this other stuff you can add on. So Ross, I'm not actually doing any readings right now. We'd have to schedule one if you're interested. I just want to make sure it's clear. So if you're interested, you can always purchase one, and then we just have to schedule the time. Yeah. Yeah, it's a grind. It's a grind. Anyway, great. So that was my conversation about people feeling like tarot readers are going to be all up in your business. If you guys have any other thoughts about it, let me know. You can always contact me over at any social media channel at Coming Out Tarot. You can also send me an email over at comingouttarot.com/contact. My throat is done. It's Sunday. It's time to go to bed. I get up at 4:15 Central, so it's about time for me to go to bed. But I wanted to make sure I got on and had a conversation about how people feel like tarot getting up in your business. So this blog post is coming out tomorrow morning. If you're not already signed up, you can head over to comingouttarot.com, check out how to get more on my blog posts, or at least you can check out the blog posts over there when they come out in the morning. And you'll find out more about Mindfulness Monday. Oh, thank you. I feel fine. I'm just, for some reason, this spot, like where I am in this room, I'm not normally in this spot. It is just really, really dry. I don't know why. So you'll also find out more about Mindfulness Monday over there. You can also find out more about the Journey to Excellence. Mindfulness Monday and the Journey to Excellence are all free. Mindfulness Monday is a way for you to get mindfulness into your week. And basically you get an email. It's got 3 cards. You pick one, you scroll down, and you see the one you picked. And I've interpreted it for you and given you some things to think about for the week. And then the Journey to Excellence is a self-improvement journey that we've been on since January. So you can go find all the Journey to Excellence stuff, learn about how you can prep yourself up until this point to be in the planning phase for how we're planning to move ourselves forward on this Journey to Excellence. Hey, Wusanet. It's a pretty handy little thing. It's been a labor of love to document a bit about how I'm approaching my own personal change and growth, and I'm sharing those tools with you. So it's actually kind of a cool thing, and it's, of course, it involves tarot, so you can find out more about that over at comingouttarot.com on the homepage. Everybody, I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I hope to see you again. So do follow me if you're not already. Good night. Thanks for being here, everybody. Let's end this with a cough. You too. Awesome. Thanks. don't know how I'm not following you already, Deanna. Let me just make sure I'm following you. All right, everybody. I'll see you later.